This is the oak toad, and it's unbelievably small. Somehow, this adorable pipsqueak has found a way to survive in the Florida Everglades, the place with the biggest and baddest amphibians in the entire country. So how does America's smallest toad stay off the menu? And just how small are they? To find out, I want to get one in my hands and take a closer look. So as the sun sets over the mosquito-infested swamp, I get myself ready to prove to you all that size doesn't matter. Alright, we have arrived and the night is alive with sound. You can hear all those frog calls. Now, I have not memorized the call of the amphibian we're looking for, but with all this action going on and the fact that I know that it lives in this area, I think we stand a pretty good chance at finding it. So we're gonna head on in to that tall grass and see if we can get it done. Not only is this a dangerous place for a tiny toad, but it's no picnic for humans either. The mosquitoes here have probably given me every bloodborne pathogen known to man, and venomous cottonmouths lurk around every corner. However, I knew that if an adorable toad could live in this every night, I could at least tolerate it for a couple of hours, and eventually my patience was rewarded with the cutest animal I've ever seen.
All right, just like that. Oh, I got him! I got him! Oh my gosh, look at how small that is. Wow, that is amazing. Okay, we're gonna get the good camera on him. But look at that, little oak toad.
All right, we have done it. The smallest toad in America, the oak toad. This is not a baby. This is not a malnourished, starving little toad. This is a full-grown adult, and that absolutely blows my mind. This thing is literally smaller than my thumb. It is just a perfect little miniature toad. I mean, it's proportioned exactly how a large one is, but in miniature. So just how small is this thing? Let's get into the details. This toad ranges from about 0.75 to less than 1.5 inches. It is tiny. Many times on this channel, I've handled bugs that would ratio this thing. This is one of the smallest animals I've ever featured. Now, how I can tell this is an oak toad versus like a baby of some other toad is because it has that characteristic white stripe down the middle. Some other toads, like woodhouse toads, have that, but they're a whole lot larger. And if you look at its feet, it has these tiny orange glands. So it has these nice bright orange feet. And that is how I know this is an oak toad. This toad is so tiny that it's on the menu of many of the larger amphibians out here. These massive southern toads were combing the shoreline, looking to snatch up anything that can fit in their mouths. They can get up to 4.5 inches long, and the one I posed our oak toad on was about max size. However, that's nothing compared to the giant invasive toads that are taking over the area. The biggest toad species on Earth, and one that's wreaking havoc on Florida wildlife. Alright, here are some classic Florida invasive species. These are cane toads, some of the most invasive animals on Earth. And why that is because almost nothing can eat these guys. These giant glands behind their eyes produce a milky poison that is lethal to even things like your dog, but also all the native wildlife that thinks this is going to be a nice succulent meal. These guys will eat anything that can fit into their mouths. So they're ravenous hunters, decimating the ecosystem. So pretty sad to see these guys here, but still some pretty cool amphibians. The poison of the cane toad is wreaking havoc in Florida, but funnily enough, it's that very same adaptation that keeps the oak toad alive. Compared to its body size, this tiny toad has massive poison glands, which leave a horrible taste in the mouth of any potential predator. Even though all toads are poisonous, they usually aren't immune to each other's poison, so this keeps most of the oak toad's giant amphibian predators at bay. However, it doesn't work for all of them. The invasive cane toads seem to be immune to the oak toad's poison and can eat them with no difficulty. In fact, all of the oak toad's defenses seem to be completely outdone by the cane toad. Sure, oak toads can inflate themselves to make it harder to swallow, but unless it pulls something straight out of Shrek, it's not gonna work against a predator this big. Oak toads can also overwhelm some predators with numbers. Each female gives birth to 500 eggs, a number so taxing that they often die just from exertion. But how many eggs do cane toads lay? Let's see here. Oh yeah, 35,000, the most out of any amphibian on the planet. And they can do this twice a year. Thankfully, efforts to remove cane toads are underway, but it's an uphill battle for the oak toad, and often its camouflage and secretive nature are the only things keeping it out of the mouths of Florida's invasive species. And cane toads aren't the only ones. Lurking in Miami's waterways is another bizarre carnivorous amphibian, but I'll be catching that in a future video. In the meantime, check out when I caught a toad that rivals the cane toad in both size and poison. Or when I found a bizarre desert species that glows and is also poisonous. So the oak toad, one of the cutest things I have ever seen in my life, an adorable, perfect toad, just in miniature. I hope you guys really enjoyed this video and learned a lot about this fascinating little amphibian, and I will see you guys next time.